Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. I'm Lucas, and today we're stepping into another set of intense Reddit stories. Real emotions, real consequences. If you enjoy stories that hit deep, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Let's get into it.
I swallowed my morning antidepressant and realized it had no taste. That sounds small, but if you take the same capsule every day for 3 years, you know it's tiny bitterness like you know your front door squeak. The powder dissolved under my tongue in a way it never had. 2 weeks later, I was awake at 3 a.m. with a heart that felt like it was trying to leave my body through my ribs. Panic attacks are storms no one else can hear. You try to explain them and it sounds like you're narrating weather from a different state. I stared at the bathroom mirror and did the math I always do when something feels off. I am Nate, 33, QA engineer, meaning I break things before other people have to. I look for patterns the way dogs sniff for treats. I default to logs, timestamps, versions, changes. My wife Carly says it makes me exhausting. I say it keeps planes from falling out of the sky, and she says an app crash is not a plane. We live in Minneapolis, in a third-floor walk-up near Lyndale, where you hear the bar across the street empty out while you're brushing your teeth. On that morning, I put the little white capsule on my tongue and waited for the bitter shell to start dissolving. Nothing. It slid down like chalk. I stood there and tried to conjure the taste like a song lyric, like maybe my brain forgot it. It didn't come. I opened the orange bottle and poured a few into my palm. Same shape? Almost. The capsule was smoother, more uniform, like someone had polished it. The number on the side looked right, but also slightly off. The font? The spacing? When I take apart a bug report, I start by asking, what changed? The answer floated up like a fish you didn't know you were baiting. The pills changed. I grabbed the smart cap. It's a plain white lid that syncs to an app. It lobs openings with timestamps, pings me if I miss a dose, nags me like a gentle robot. I opened it. The ring of LEDs flashed green, which means I'm on schedule. I scrolled the logs. It showed the bottle open at 1017 a.m., 2041 a.m., 3003 a.m. I was asleep. I don't open bottles while asleep, unless there's a version of me that sleepwalks and does inventory. I set the bottle on the counter like it might bite me and took a breath that scraped on the way in. I told myself it was a batch change. Manufacturers tweak coatings, pharmacies switch generics. It happens. But the night opening stuck in my throat. The app gives you a nice CSV export, my favorite thing, so I hit export and emailed it to myself. QA brain-fed anxious brain, and both of them turned to look at my wife's closed office door. Carly was inside on a video call with her sister, which she does every morning. She doesn't take an early ray at the dental practice. She's a dental assistant, which means she's kind and precise with people who are scared to open their mouths. She believes in flossing the way some people believe in saints. When she finished her call, she came out with her coffee and kissed me on the head without looking. "Did you get milk?" she asked. "In the fridge," I said, and listened to my own voice. It sounded like someone who wanted to be normal for 10 more minutes. That afternoon, I walked to our neighborhood pharmacy on Hennepin, the one with the creaky floor and the pharmacist who remembers everybody's kids. I brought 3 of my capsules in a bag. The pharmacist, a man named Rakesh who wears his kindness like a sweater, took one look and frowned. "This is not your usual," he said. "Generics," I said, making my voice light. "Different supplier?" He shook his head. "Your prescription is for sertraline, 50 milligrams. This imprint is close, but it's not the same manufacturer we dispense. And the coating." He shook one into his hand and held it to the light like he was reading a fortune. "It's not ours." "Could it be a different batch?" I asked. He typed into his computer and squinted at the screen. "No," he said slow. "We haven't had a batch change for yours, and your last refill was 2 weeks ago. The lot number on your bottle, do you have it?" I handed him the bottle. He turned it under the light. "This label is ours," he said, "but this lot number doesn't match what we have. We don't have this lot in our system." "My wife picked it up," I said. "Sometimes she swings by on her way home." My voice did that thing, the quiet one it does when a piece fits into a puzzle you didn't know you were building. Rakesh's mouth went flat in a way I didn't like. "I can send these for analysis," he said. "We can also replace your medication today with the correct one." "Do you think these are, what, vitamins?" I asked. The word stuck on my tongue like a pill that won't go down. "Hard to say," he said, which is the professional way of saying, "I'm not going to tell you the worst thing I can think of, but they are not the sertraline we dispense." I walked home with a new bottle and a paper bag that crinkled too loud. The air had that clean Minneapolis spring bite snow, gone but not forgotten. I watched a man scrape ice off his windshield with a library card and thought, that's me, except the ice is my life. Carly was at the dining table, scrolling her phone. She looked up with a smile that is what made me marry her and lay my life down in a shape we both signed. "You look pale," she said. "Do I need to call your therapist?" I set the bag down. "What did you put in my bottle?" She blinked, her head tilted a degree like I'd asked about the weather on Mars. "What?" "My medication," I said. "It tastes different. It dissolves different. The smart cap logs show middle of the night openings when I was asleep. The pharmacy says the lot number doesn't match their records. The pharmacist says these aren't my pills." She didn't flinch. She tucked hair behind her ear. "I changed them," she said. "They're vitamins." I waited for the part where she laughed and said she was joking. It didn't come. "You replaced my antidepressants with vitamins." You're dependent, she said calmly. You've been flat, Nate. You've been someone else. You needed to see you could feel without a chemical crutch. There are 10,000 ways to tell me you're scared, I said, and my voice went soft on purpose like it was holding broken glass. This was not one of them. You'd never agree, she said, and reached for the moral high ground like a step stool. It's been years. You cling to that bottle like it's a personality. Like it's insulin, I said, like it's clean water. Carly, I had panic attacks at 3 a.m. I thought I was dying in our bathroom because you decided to help. It's not like I gave you poison, she said, and smirked when my face moved. Fine, bad choice of words. You did give me poison, I said, and felt heat rise into my neck. Because you made me believe I could trust what I was putting in my body. You're overreacting, she said, and your app, those caps glitch all the time. You're acting like CSI of pill bottles. You opened my bottle while I slept, I said, and an image flashed so fast it made me dizzy. Her padded feet on our hallway rug at 2 a.m., the little click of the cap, the cool blue light in the bathroom. Why? She picked at a hangnail. Because I tried talking and you made a chart, she said. Because you track your feelings in an app, but you don't have them with me. Because you wanted to control what happens in my brain, I said, barely above a whisper, and the way you did it was to take my label and put a new pill under it and call it love. She stood so quickly her chair tipped and then thumped back onto all 4 legs. You think I'm the villain? I think you changed my medication without my consent, I said. There's a word for that. Several. Her mouth opened and then closed. She whispered something I didn't catch, and then she went into the bedroom and shut the door like she was saving herself from a fire and I was the smoke. I stood alone with the smart cap in my palm and tried to feel the floor. The next morning, I called my therapist, a man named Eric who wears brown shoes and listens like it's his sport. I told him the facts, and then I told him the feelings, and then he told me to come in. In his office near the sculpture garden, he wrote while I talked. He calls it documenting the weather. He adjusted his glasses and said, I'm sorry, which is something therapists say when your life is arson and you've just noticed the match. I need you to write this down, I said. I need a record. He nodded. I'm creating a clinical note that reflects your report of medication changes without consent and observed regression, sleep disturbance, panic episodes. I'll also log the time frame relative to your last refill. I'll print you a copy for your records. Thank you, I said, and tried not to cry because my crying mechanism has rust on it and squeals when it moves. He looked at me the way people look at friends at funerals. Nate, what do you want to do? I want to be sane, I said, and married to someone who is, too. He nodded, like sanity was a thing he could put in a bag for me to take home. Restarting your medication. Proper medication under supervision is step 1. We can also refer to a psychiatrist to confirm dosing, but if you've been stable on your current regimen, we're not reinventing the wheel. Step 2, build a paper trail. If this escalates, you don't want to hold this only in your memory. I held the printed clinical note and felt a small, fierce gratitude. Paper is colder than love. That's why it holds. At dinner, Carly acted like nothing had happened. She plated salmon and green beans and told me about a patient who called their crown a hat. I nodded and ate and felt my heartbeat like a metronome set too fast. When we were done, I put my fork down and said, we need to talk about what you did. She sighed like she just had to parallel park. We already did. No, I said, you confessed and then you called it help. I told you I changed them, she said. I told you why. You've been foggy. You're not funny anymore. You're not. She searched for the word and landed on one that made me want to put my fist through the drywall. Spontaneous. I'm not a fireworks show, I said. I'm a person whose brain makes fewer knives when he takes a small white pill in the morning. You don't even taste bitterness anymore, she said, and smirked because she thought she'd made a clever point. You miss the drama. I noticed the lack of bitterness because I know my life, I said. And because that tiny bitterness told me I was taking the right thing. Now my mouth is smooth and my nights are broken and you want to win Scrabble with words like spontaneous. She leaned back, crossed her arms. So what, you gonna, sue me? I'm gonna talk to a lawyer, I said. And I'm gonna have a conversation I didn't think I'd ever have about safety. Mine. Safety, she repeated, tasting the syllables like an unfamiliar candy. From me. From control dressed up as care, I said. From someone who will switch a medication and then call me dependent for noticing. She stared at me for a long time. You won't leave, she said finally. You can't even return shoes without a spreadsheet. I can prove you wrong, I said softly. The next day, I brought the smart cap logs and Rakesh's preliminary note to an attorney downtown who had a waiting room decorated like a sauna. Her name was Mara, and she had the exact voice you want when everything is turning to soup, clear and unsentimental. She listened. She asked sharp questions. She took copies. This is medical interference, she said. It's also a trust issue on a level that courts care about if it bleeds into other areas, finances, children, decision-making. We don't have kids, I said. She nodded. That simplifies some things, she said. Complicates fewer. But if you move forward with separation or dissolution, her attempt to manipulate your medication could be relevant, particularly if she tries to create a narrative that you're unstable. She will, I said. I could see it like a storyboard. She already has. Then we meet narrative with documentation, Mara said. Log your symptoms since the change. Keep the pharmacy correspondence. Have your therapist's records ready, and we'll request the pharmacy's inventory logs to show the lot mismatch. Do you think I'm overreacting? I asked, which is a question men ask when we've been told our noses aren't good at smelling smoke. She smiled without warmth. I think you're underreacting, she said, but I don't know your marriage. I do know paper, and paper helps. When I got home, Carly was on the couch watching a show where people renovate houses with smiles you can see from space. She talked over the host like she was an old friend. If they put a waterfall edge on that island, I swear, she said. I turned off the TV. Did you tell your sister what you did? I asked. She rolled her eyes. I'm not crowdsourcing my marriage. Good, I said, because I'm not either, but there will be other people in this room soon. Mediators, maybe a judge. Her mouth flattened. You're serious. I'm serious and medicated, I said, which means I'm steady enough to do this right. What does right mean? She asked. You get the apartment, you get the moral high ground, you get sympathy points at your little therapy? Right means you don't rewrite history in a room where people write things down, I said. Right means you don't turn my panic attacks into a performance review of my personality. She looked at me for a long time. She is beautiful when she's angry. That used to be exciting. Now it felt like standing on a highway divider. I wanted you back, she said finally, voice breaking in the middle like a bridge that can't hold. You're not the man I married. I'm not, I said. I'm a man who stopped waking up with a stone on his chest every morning after he started taking a pill prescribed by a doctor. That's not a moral failure, that's physics. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. I thought if you saw you could live without it. I did live without it, I said, for 2 weeks. I lived with my face in a towel at 3 a.m. so you wouldn't hear me shaking. I lived by counting tiles. I lived by pretending, and I'm done pretending. Mediation came fast in calendar time and slow in human time. We sat in a beige room with fake plants and a woman named Darcy whose job was to convince us we could be reasonable in 50-minute chunks. Darcy asked us to talk about what we wanted. Carly said, him back, and I said, me safe, and Darcy did the therapist nod. That means both can't be true at the same time. Carly tried to backfill the narrative with concern. He's been dependent, she said. He's been dull. I thought a reset would help. Darcy tilted her head. Did you have a medical provider's input for that decision? Carly flushed. It's not surgery, they're just pills. Darcy's pen paused over her pad. Just pills can be the difference between a life that works and one that does not, she said gently. Making unilateral changes to someone's regimen is not appropriate. It is not care. Carly looked at me like I'd bribed Darcy. I'm not a monster, she whispered. I don't think you are, I said, and meant it. I think you are a person who wanted control, and you've been calling it different names so it would taste better. We talked logistics, we talked leases, we divided books like parents dividing kids at a birthday party. Darcy told us to breathe, and we did, like students. When we left, the sky over Nicolette was the flat white of a page. Carly touched my sleeve in the elevator and said, can we try again? And I said, we did, and she flinched like I'd struck her. I moved into a one-bedroom in Whittier with a view of the green line of trees along the street and a neighbor who plays trumpet at 2 in the afternoon like he thinks no one can hear him. I restarted my meds with the right pills. The taste came back like a familiar road. The panic attacks backed off like a tide that got bored. I told Eric each week that I was sad and not dying. He wrote it down. Sometimes, in the quiet, anger comes and sits like a cat on my lap and dares me to pet it. I let it purr, and then I stand up and it jumps off. I keep the SmartCap logs, the pharmacy letter, the printed therapist notes in a folder labeled medications because that's what they are. I don't look at them for revenge. I look at them when I start to wonder if I made it up. Carly texted me 2 weeks after I moved out. I'm sorry, she wrote. I thought I was helping. I typed a paragraph and deleted it. I typed, I believe you thought that, and left it at that. Belief doesn't fix harm. It just sorts it. On Saturdays, I walk around Bidamakaska and watch dogs drag their owners towards smells. I sit on a bench and let the light make shapes on the water. I think about all the times control dressed up as care in my life and I didn't know to check its pockets. Teachers who pushed me for my own good. Bosses who kept me late for the team. Family who just worried. I am 33 years old and I have decided worry needs to bring ID to the door. Last week, I ran into Rakesh at the farmer's market by Lindale. He asked how I was. I said good and meant learning. He said his analysis came back. The pills were vitamins, yes, and a generic sleep aid and some melatonin. That explains why you felt off and also wired, he said. I laughed in the middle of the market like a person who has almost enough oxygen. Thank you, I said, for believing me before I had the words. He shrugged. It's not belief, he said, it's my job. Then he smiled, but sometimes those are the same thing. If you want a tidy ending, I don't have it. Carly started her own therapy. She told me she was learning the word coercive control. I told her I was learning boundaries. We both said the word slowly like we were tasting spices. We don't text much. When we do, it's about the lease, the rugs, the one chair neither of us wanted but both of us used. We are becoming two people who used to share a kitchen. That is sad. It is also better than sharing a kitchen with someone who opens your medication in the night. I keep the bottle on my counter. I take my pill with a glass of water I fill to the same level every morning because habits built the bridge I walk across. The bitterness hits my tongue and makes me smile like a private joke. I open the blinds. I make coffee. I log into a build with my name on it and look for the bug. I find it. I write it down. I fix what I can. The rest I document because even the things you can't fix deserve the dignity of a correct description. Here is what I know, written down so I don't forget. My brain is not weak for needing help. Love without consent is not love. And the next time I taste a change that no one else can taste, I will trust my tongue. The truth's not sweet, but it saves time, and time is the only thing I can't compile again when it crashes. Would you have stayed after a confession like that, or left the moment you saw the smart cap logs light up at night? And what's the smallest change you've noticed? The one everyone else said was nothing? That turned out to be the whole story? If this hit home, like and comment and subscribe for more stories.